Welcome back, guys, to another stream here, and we're going to be going over the tornado threat that started to increase over the last 36 hours. I haven't said anything about it because I didn't think it was going to be that consistent, but over the last 24 hours, the HRRR model and the RFS and the FV3 model have been consistently increasing the chances of odds of actual tornadoes happening across southern Illinois tomorrow and southwest extreme Indiana and northwest Kentucky. And to be honest, the threat's definitely increasing still. 18Z runs still increase the threat of even a few low top supercells that could even be producing a decent amount of large hailstones, damaging winds, beautiful storm structure, and the risk of isolated tornadoes based on how the warm front positioning. You got streamwise vorticity that's increasing during the afternoon, late evening hours. You have 0 to 3 kilometer cape, which is over 250 in some areas. Even near the low pressure, you got that triple point, kind of like an MCS field coming across Illinois tomorrow, where you get that warm front extending west to east oriented. You get the front that's extending way back. It's not rushing in to kill the environment, but it's still coming as the low pushes off to the east. Now, these could be slow-moving supercells or it could be fast-moving supercells tomorrow. It just depends on how fast that low is really moving. But the slower the system comes in, the more the environment does increase the potential for more STP, significant tornado parameters, to increase based on local wind shear, vorticity, and everything else coming together. Surface base cape is even, going to be 1,500 plus across this area going into, we're almost in December, it's November. So it's pretty good of an environment based in November across southern Illinois when temperatures are supposed to be colder. Right now at this point, we're above average temperatures right now at this point. So temperatures tomorrow across and even 80s further south, which does increase the potential for severe weather. Fuel to the fire. Even got dew points being 60 plus dew points, reaching up to the 64 corridor tomorrow. So that's all those ingredients coming together do pose a risk for significant severe weather in a locally environment. So based on the models I'm seeing here, the low comes in here, you got a warm front, it kind of extends west to east oriented. The SPC is going to keep messing around where the placement of the best tornado probabilities are going to be. You got a front that kind of extends back here, so you'll get some south-southwesterly surface winds feeding in here, but kind of in a sweet spot here, you'll get some southerly surface winds or south-southeasterly surface winds feeding in across an area kind of right here, closest to the warm front as well, and that's where you're going to get a few of those isolated discrete supercells that develop across this environment, and then those guys are going to eventually push off to the southeast, but they'll be moving west to east for a little bit, especially along the warm front, but Cape And the biggest area might be where those storms are in a tornado off to the east, way ahead of that low, closest to the warm front, where there's less cap, less cape, but higher wind shear that could also get those storms to rotate as well. So watch out for southwest extreme Indiana tomorrow as well. But those storms will eventually push off to the southeast, going into the late evening hours, into the overnight hours, going into northwest Kentucky. When you have to watch about across portions of central Kentucky, as the tornado threat could extend over there as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if the SPC could introduce a 5% tornado risk across this first circle area that I did circle. We'll see how much potential there actually is tomorrow, but there is definitely a low pressure system that kind of comes out of Missouri late tonight after midnight, pushes east. Moisture ahead of that does increase as well. There is definitely tomorrow, and that's why there's definitely the concern for it. And that's why I'm kind of definitely bringing it up to you guys, because there's definitely the chances of the tornado threat is definitely increasing. And we'll kind of go and check that out here on some of these forecast models here. Go over here to WeatherBell. I love using WeatherBell, guys. Great website, monthly subscription, of course, but if you're into weather, definitely use WeatherBell. We'll go down here to Kentucky, Tennessee. We're on the RFS model right now. 18Z RFS is on Pivotal right now. I'm going to show you guys the latest, the 12Z run on here as well. Waiting for it to load. There we go. Maybe you gotta close some of these applications on here. There we go. So here's the 12Z RFS run. This was not the 18Z run, it's the 12Z run. Lagging a little bit. So 12Z run here, you can see there's they got the low pressure system up here. You see how those storms kind of wind in like that, and you got this broken arch of supercells moving west to east oriented, just near that front, and eventually they go sag off to the southeast. But within that environment, I do believe there is a chance of a few tornadoes. So that's just the 12Z, the RFS run. Now we go over to the HRRR model. Wish the internet would load a lot quicker right now. Go over to 18Z HRRR. Actually, I was looking at that completely wrong. All right, so here's the 18Z HRRR. You get some supercells here developing. A few of those right there along the Kentucky-Illinois border. Those could be some showers that even produce tornadoes. So they don't even have to have deep convective cores tomorrow to produce tornadoes on these storms. They could just be rotating super showers at that point, because there's so much vorticity in the environment, low wind shear, there's so much spin in the atmosphere that you can even get a tornado without barely any velocity couplet on it on a weak shower tomorrow, because of how strong the vorticity is across the area in 0 to 3 kilometer cape. So there could even not even be a warning on a shower, and you look out there in the distance and there's like a funnel cloud and there's already a tornado on the ground, like a weak rope. That's just, an example of how strong the vorticity in the atmosphere tomorrow is going to be across this environment. This local area where it could be actually locally higher tornado threat. And then you get these deep core convective storms developing across southwest extreme Indiana that come out of southern Illinois that are riding near the warm front. You could actually have, a long tracked possible supercell with some tornado potential with it as well. Large hail and damaging winds with it too. So 2 areas to watch there along the Kentucky-Illinois border, deeper into like the warm sector, you would say, and then you got near the warm front, near the triple point. Going back to the RFS model, because it wasn't on the same hours I was looking for. There we go. What I was looking at before was the earlier morning convection. So here's the 12Z RFS. Charles E RFS is not really far behind of what the HER model is showing, but it does show stronger convective storms they're firing near southern Illinois into southwest extreme Indiana. And you can see those guys are really strongly deeply convective with some hail, damaging winds, and even a tornado threat, and those guys kind of go off into northwest Kentucky pretty quick. So between the RFS model and the HER model, they're both showing the possible chances of some isolated supercells. And I do definitely think there's definitely be a few tornadoes with these storms tomorrow based on the dynamics in the environment. I mean, just we go check out the seeing of the tornado parameters alone between the RFS and the HER model. There's the RFS on the position where the front is and where those storms are. And then we got the HER model here. See, tornado parameters are definitely increasing there. We got 4 out of 5, 5 there. And as those storms are pushing off to the east, they kind of go into that environment or just right in the edge of that environment, and they can still produce tornadoes. So even if it's just not the highest STP index where those storms are not developing, doesn't mean they're not going to have tornadoes, because there's so much vorticity in the environment that the models might not even be picking up or not 100% accurate with the positioning of the front right now or the low pressure system. You can still even have tornadoes off, you know, in this really light area, and that's right along the warm front where some of those storms are developing. So like I said, don't pay too much attention of where the highest index is, because you still have southeast really strong surface winds along the warm front vorticity, and you can even still have those storms overlap the front and still get a tornado because of how much spin there is in the atmosphere tomorrow across this area. But look at it better here on Pivotal, because other websites are really having a hard time loading. Can we load? There we go. So looking at some of the moisture here, I really have to talk about my internet provider. Why there's so much hassle trying to get stuff to load. Hold on, still waiting for it to load. Kicking up that moisture coming in north, so I think there's going to be a really sharp cutoff line between cold air and warm air tomorrow along that warm front. And if we have a little bit more moisture where it's not so overmixing so much, I think there's definitely a chance for some tornadoes. I mean, even looking at your 0 to 3 kilometer cape here, I already looked at all this stuff earlier, so I already know what to expect by looking at it. But I mean, just look at your 0 to 3 kilometer cape reaching, you know, 150 to 200 in some areas. RFS picking up a little bit higher. RAP model also picking up pretty good. And then we switch over to the RFS model, which you guys can see the latest 18Z, which doesn't show itself on WeatherBell, but on Pivotal you can pick up the 18Z. Does show some decent launch stripes here coming across the environment here. Sorry guys, I guess internet's slow today. So here's the RFS, latest RFS helicity track, 0 to 3 kilometer, which some of these storms could be rotating, some of these storms could be hailers for the most part. That's why it picks up that deep core helicity track, which can indicate a strong core for hail, or even low level rotation, which is why we pick 0 to 3 kilometer helicity track. So a few of these storms could actually be rotating right there along the triple point or the warm front as they kind of dig west-east and then turn southeast. So you can see there's a few helicity tracks here across southern Illinois tomorrow and southwest Indiana, where it does indicate the chance of some of these supercells could be producing tornadoes tomorrow. So the environment is definitely increasing, because we go back a few runs, it was barely showing. As we get closer to the event, the models are really starting to grasp and pick up on the environment for tomorrow, that low pressure system coming through. So I'm really interested to see 0 to 3 kilometer Cape, and we go back to, let's go back to 23Z and look at the RAP model. I go back to 15Z because only 21Z and 15Zs can pick up this far out. But even the 15Z, which is a really older run earlier this morning, I'm waiting for the 21Z RAP model to come out to show. Look how much 0 to 3 kilometer Cape is across that environment with the vorticity and the position in the low. They all agree with each other. High amount of 0 to 3 kilometer Cape, clear skies, obviously indication of that. Strong surface-based Cape. All the combinations do lead to a isolated tornado threat across southern Illinois tomorrow, because the RAP model is picking it up obviously right now. I wonder what the STP is showing. I have not seen the RAP model yet on the 15Z run earlier. I was paying attention to other model runs. So RAP model is picking up really good indication for a tornado threat across southern Illinois tomorrow, which, the RAP model, you really don't need its indications to show so high on STP. You just know that when you see that environment, you get some of these vorticity, and these photographs that do show there's definitely tornado potential down there for tomorrow. Not really that it's showing 154 cent. I'm not really worried about that. Cap will break in some locations, and it's not going to be that strong. It's definitely overreacting the cap. Enough cold air overlapping up top to break any cap tomorrow, to be honest. Can we just load the page? That'd be great. I'm probably going to have to end the stream after this one last image, because the internet's just way too slow right now. But yeah, there's a decent amount of Cape out there. All the models show an average of 1,000 plus Cape tomorrow across the environment, and that's pretty good for November on a photogenic. Other than that, I mean, if the stuff does collapse, it's due to the lapse rates, or if it's due to a capping. But I mean, all the ingredients down there definitely show the potential of tornadoes. So we'll be chasing down there tomorrow. We'll be down there live streaming throughout the entire event. So looking forward to it. Stay tuned for later updates, and we'll be posting 000 run updates later on.